Hello everyone, welcome to Learning with Vodafone webinar series. In today's webinar, we are focusing on Module 3, which is based upon application programming. In this module, we are going to implement Cursor in Oracle PL/SQL programming using Oracle SQL Developer and Oracle 11g Express Edition database. Today, we are going to understand the significance of Cursor, its types, and implementation using PL/SQL programming to calculate student grade and employee salary using Oracle SQL Developer and Oracle 11g Express Edition database. Cursor. A cursor is a temporary work area created in the system memory when a SQL statement is executed. A cursor contains information on a select statement and the rows of data accessed by it. A cursor is a pointer to a private SQL area that stores information about the processing of a select or data manipulation language statement such as insert, update, delete, or merge. Cursor management of DML statement is handled by Oracle database, but PL/SQL offers several ways to define and manipulate cursors to execute select statements. The major function of a cursor is to retrieve data one row at a time from a result set, unlike the SQL commands which operate on all the rows in the result set at one time. Cursors are used when the user needs to update records in a singleton fashion or in a row-by-row manner in a database table. The data that is stored in the cursor is called the active data set. Oracle DBMS has another predefined area in the main memory set within which the cursors are open. Hence, the size of the cursor is limited by the size of the predefined area. Cursor types. The cursor is of two types, implicit cursor and explicit cursor. Under implicit cursor, whenever any DML operations occur in the database, an implicit cursor is created that holds the rows affected in that particular operation. These cursors cannot be named and hence they cannot be controlled or referred from another place of the code. We can refer only to the most recent cursor through the cursor attributes. These are created by default to process the statement when DML statements like insert, update, delete, etc. are executed. Explicit cursor. The explicit cursor should be defined in the declaration section of the PL/SQL block, and it is created for the select statement that needs to be used in the code. Following is the syntax to create an explicit cursor, where we have cursor, then the name of the cursor is, and the select statement on which the cursor is to be applied, then double colons. You must follow these steps while working on an explicit cursor. The step 1 is to declare the cursor to initialize in the memory. Step 2, open the cursor to allocate memory. Step 3, fetch the cursor to retrieve data. And step 4, where close the cursor to release allocated memory. Below are steps that involved in working with explicit cursors. The first is declaring the cursor. Declaring the cursor simply means to create one named context area for the select statement that is defined in the declaration part. The name of this context area is same as the cursor name. The syntax for the explicit cursor declaration is cursor, the name of the cursor is, then in the next line we have select and the statement on which cursor is going to be applied. Opening cursor. Opening the cursor will instruct PL/SQL to allocate the memory for this cursor. It will make the cursor ready to fetch the records. The syntax for this cursor is open and the name of the cursor, colon. Fetching data from the cursor. In this process, the select statement is executed and the rows fetched is stored in the allocated memory. These are now called as active sets. Fetching data from the cursor is a record level activity. That means we can access the data in the record by record way. Each fetch statement will fetch one active set and holds the information of that particular record. This statement is same as select statements, that fetches the record and assigns to the variable in the into clause, but it will not throw any exceptions. The syntax for this fetching data is fetch, then cursor name, into, and the variable name that you want to fetch. And the last is closing the cursor, where once all the record is fetched, now we need to close the cursor so that memory allocated to this context area could be released. The syntax for this is close and the name of the cursor, single quote. Coming to cursor attributes. Both implicit cursor and the explicit cursor has certain attributes that can be accessed. These attributes gives more information about the cursor operations. Below are the different cursor attributes and their usage. So the very first attribute is percentile found. With the help of this attribute, it returns the Boolean result true if the most recent fetch operation fetched a record successfully, else it will return false. So in case the correct record is fetched, then it will return true, else it will return false. Percentile not found attribute works opposite to the percentile found. It will return true if the most recent fetch operation could not be able to fetch any record. Then we have percentile is open. Now this attribute would return Boolean result true if the given cursor is already open, else it will return false. And finally, we have the cursor attribute as percentile row count, which returns the actual count of records that got affected by the DML activity in the numeric manner. You can download the reference material for this webinar from the given link. To complete this webinar, your computer laptop must have Ubuntu 16.04 LTS. In case you are working on Windows-based system, your system must have VMware Workstation or VirtualBox with pre-installed Ubuntu 16.04 LTS. Now let me take you to my Ubuntu console, where I could be able to explain you the program and demonstrate its functioning. So now we are into our Ubuntu console, and here first I am going to explain you the implicit cursor program for updating employee's salary. So the program is available here. So if in this particular program, if you notice, in the very beginning we say create table employees. We are going to write a query to create a table named employees, and within that the attributes would be ID with a number data type. Another attribute is name with the varchar type and the size of 10. Next variable is age with the data type of number. Next variable is address with the data type of varchar 20, and the salary with the data type of number, and the size is 5. Now in this particular table we are going to use DML commands such as insert, so that we can insert certain values of ID, name, age, address and salary in 6 iterations to make a database. Once we have done that, then we call set server output on. Now this particular command will help to display content of variable in dbms underscore output dot put dot line. So this particular command would help to display contents of variable in dbms underscore output dot put underscore line function. Next is declare. So at this place we are going to declare certain variables, like there is a variable name we are going to declare as total underscore rows, which is of type number, and the size is 2. Here we are initiating the cursor block, and in this we are calling first command as update, that we are going to update the table named employees, and in that what we are going to do, we are going to set the salary field, and we are going to increment that salary field by 5,000 for each of the employee. So these are the DML commands that we have used, update and set. Now here we say if SQL percentile not found. So this particular command is talking about a cursor attribute not found, whereas it will return true if the most recent fetch operation is successful. So right now we are trying to update the employee tables, and there we are trying to modify the field named salary and increment that by 5,000. So we are Once we have succeeded doing this operation, so this statement will become false and we won't get inside this. But we come to else if part where it says SQL percentile found, obviously. So this line will be executed since we have successfully updated our employees table using these commands. Then we come here and here we write total rows colon equals to SQL percentile row count. So this percentile row count is another cursor attribute which returns the numeric value of the total actual count of records that gets affected by the DML activity. So this particular command is going to fetch that exactly how many entries are available in the table which have been modified because of this particular line. So there are 6 such entries as we have mentioned using these commands. So here we have salary for all these 6 entries. So all of these salaries would get modified because of this particular command. So the total row count would be 6. And then we are trying to type the output as dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Here comes the total row variable. So the value of this would be 6 and we are going to OR that with a string employees updated. And then this if statement is terminated by end if, and finally this begin case is closed by end and a slash symbol. This slash symbol is very much important, otherwise the cursor programming will not take place. Once we have done this, we can write this line select star from employees to see the updation in our table. So let me demonstrate this particular implicit cursor program for you in Oracle SQL Developer using Oracle 11g Express Edition database. Let me copy this program, open the terminal, and here type SQL Developer. And here let me paste the program that we have just now understood based upon implicit cursor programming. So here's the program, and when I try to execute this PL SQL program, for that I'll click on this button to run the script, and it is trying to connect to my database. So I'll give my password. Fine. So here I am getting a request for the first entry of enter value for ID because I want to put ID, name, age, address and salary of each of the employee in my employees table. So my ID is, let's say, 1, name is Ram, age is 25, address is, let's say, Bangalore, salary is 30,000, ID 2 is the name, let's say, Krishna, age is 28 something, address is, let's say, Hyderabad, salary is 32, third ID is 3, name is Rohan, age, let's say, 25, address as in Chennai, salary as 34,000, ID as 4, name as Ramesh, age, let's say, 27, address as Delhi, salary as 35,000, and our fifth entry is ID is 5, name as Ajit, age is 32, address Goa, salary is 37,000, And finally, the sixth employee ID is 6, name is Raj, age is 30, address is Mumbai, salary is 40,000. Once we do all this stuff, here if you go and check out the result, so here if you look carefully, it says that 6 employees are updated. So this 6 is the count coming from this SQL percentile row count. So the total rows which is printed here, so the content of this variable total rows is printed here, which says 6 employees updated, and here is your table that you have created by assigning all the values, all the addresses, and if you notice carefully that the salary field have been updated by 5,000 for each of the employee. So if you remember, the last employee named Raj was from Mumbai. What we have given the salary as 40,000 and his salary got updated to 45,000. And this has happened for all of our employees. So this is one typical example of implicit cursor programming. Now let's observe explicit cursor program for student grade calculation. So in this example, again we are going to create a table, but this time the variables would be different. Like we'll have a table with the name std. The variables are first variable as name, data type was varchar and size 10. Another variable is roll number, the data type is number and the size is 3. Another variable is mark 1, then mark 2, then mark 3. These are the variable entries, and the entries for all of these variables would be taken with the help of the insert command of DML, and all of those entries will be stored in these variables. Now once that is done, then here we are going to declare our variable named total, and the data type is number. Another variable named average, and the data type is number. And here we can notice the cursor implementation, where it is written the command as cursor C is select star from std. This command says that the cursor C points to the context area which holds rows from table. It defines the cursor with a name and the associated select statement. And here we say S std percentile row type. Now when we get into the begin section, here we say open C. This open C is used to allocate memory for the cursor and make it easy to fetch the rows returned by the SQL statement into it. Then here we are going to type the dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. So this would be the heading for our database that we are going to create. Then we are entering into the loop section. Within loop section, we have a statement called fetch C into S. Now this command is used to access one row at a time. You can fetch rows from the above opened cursor. Then once it is fetching one row at a time, after fetching it is trying to get only certain attributes such as marks 1, marks 2 and marks 3 from S. So it is trying to add all these marks and assign those marks to the variable total, and here that average equals to floor total divided by 3, so that they can get the average marks that student have got in all 3 subjects, and the result is stored in the variable average. Now if C percentile not found, so it means that in case you are not able to modify all this stuff in your table, then you should exit. Else if you are able to do that, then here you are trying to check the status of the student, that if the marks of subject 1 is less than 50, or the mark of subject 2 is less than 50, or the marks of subject 3 is less than 50, then you can give the output for the name of the student, his roll number, the marks in each of the subjects, total marks he got with the help of this particular command, the average marks he got, and his grading, which is fail. Else if the average marks is greater than 90 and the average is less than 100, in that case the result would be, so all those students who belong to that category, so for them the name, roll number, marks 1, marks 2, marks 3 for all three subjects, then the total marks and the average, and the grade will be super. Else, similarly, if the average is more than 80 or less than 90, the grade is A plus, and you have to display all the marks. If the average is more than 70 and average is less than 80, then the grade is B. If the average is more than 60 and the average is less than 70, the grade is C. Else, the grade is D. So once we have done all this, so here we get the end if statement to terminate the if else loop that we have initiated here. For this if loop, we need one more end if statement that we have got here. And here we have end loop for the begin statement that we have made here. So that will stop the body of the cursor. And then we have close C. So this close C is used to release the allocated memory to the cursor, and then finally use call end command /. So let's implement this explicit cursor program in our SQL developer and see the output. So this is the same program about calculating student grade. When we run the script, it will ask me certain entries like name, let's say Ram, roll number is 10, marks is let's say 95, 89, 92. At this particular moment, it is giving me errors telling that name is already used by the existing object. This kind of error you might also get. That is because I might have already executed this script and a table named std is available in my database. So let me first drop that table and then restart the process. So let me cancel all this stuff. So here I can add a command drop table std. Execute this particular line and it says table std dropped. Now you can remove this line, clean this script output and run the script. So it asks for the name Ram, roll number let's say 10, marks as 92, 95, 90, and this time insertion have happened. The next name is let's say Rohan, roll number 11, marks as 89, 78, 91. Then the third entry, let's say Aditya, roll number 14, marks as 37, 28, 76. And finally, one more name as Aditi, 45, 49, and 67, 83. Here if you notice that all the details that we have punched in, they got stored in these variables, and then here we have calculated the total of all the marks with the help of the cursor, so that cursor fetches them one row after another. We could be able to calculate the total marks and then the total average, and once it is done, then we can repeat the process. So based upon the average marks, it is decided that what grade a particular student have got with the help of this PL/SQL program. Here if you see that Ram, who have roll number as 10, marks 1 is 92, marks 2 is 95, and marks 3 is 90. So the total for all these marks are 277, average is 92, and his grade is super. Whereas the student named Rohan, whose roll number is 11, marks was 89, 78, and 91, total becomes 258, average is 86, got a grade of A plus. Whereas Aditya and Aditi both have got less marks. Let's say Aditya have got first marks as 37, marks 2 as 28, marks 3 as 76, so total becomes 141. The average is 47, so he got F grade. So this is a demonstration of an explicit cursor program for student grade calculation in PL/SQL programming. In this webinar, we have understood the importance of cursor in Oracle PL/SQL. We have also observed different types of cursor available and their attributes which work with DML commands. We have witnessed the implementation of implicit cursor and explicit cursor using Oracle PL/SQL programming in Oracle SQL Developer. Cursors are used for retrieving data row by row basis, so it is an important mechanism to update selected entries in database. You can think as an example of updating only the current balance in your bank account with every transaction. So rather than updating your name, your contact details, your account number, it is just looking into your current balance and it modifies that balance every time you are making some transaction. So that could be one of the examples where cursor can play a role. Students can try to implement cursor along with triggers to explore new possibilities for manipulating database using PL/SQL programming. I hope you have understood the concept of cursor programming in PL/SQL. Thank you for watching.